Revealed, the incredible moment a billionaire CEO misconnected and changed a boy's life forever. Tommy lay on the worn sofa in his apartment, textbooks scattered around like the remains of his fading dreams. His mother had just rushed out for her second shift, leaving him with the remnants of her relentless struggle. Counting the seconds until he could immerse himself in science diagrams and equations, he felt the weight of expectation and poverty pressing down on him. Why did it always feel so heavy? Why couldn't he just be seen? Just once, rather than defined by his broken surroundings? His 11-year-old fingertips hovered over his phone screen, sweaty and trembling. The online science contest was his chance to escape, to show the world he could defy his circumstances. Frustration bubbled as he misdialed a number, inadvertently breaking into someone else's evening. On the other end, a voice greeted him with irritability. "What do you want, kid?" But Tommy didn't retreat. Instead, he spilled his ideas about space-time, his dreams entwined in every excited word. "There's more to it than just laws," he said, voice trembling with urgency. Imagine he could almost see the galaxies. A flicker of nostalgia washed over Mark Reynolds, a CEO hardened by corporate duties. Long-buried memories nudged at his conscience, reminding him of days when ambition danced with innocence. Realization struck Mark. This boy was alive with curiosity in a way he hadn't been for years. Okay, kid," he said hesitantly, masking interest with indifference. The call ended abruptly. Both felt the weight of an unwelcome truth amid the comforting hum of corporate jets and office towers. A haunting disconnection lingered. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can, leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks. Mark, emboldened by his decision to call Tommy back, found himself ensnared in an unexpected mentorship. Their conversations brimmed with physics, their worlds colliding with every abstract theorem, and every classmate's relentless sneer weighed on Tommy. Each call forged an unbreakable bond, but the darker undertones of corporate rivalry began to entwine them in competing agendas. Mark's assistant voiced doubt, warning him of the dangers in cultivating relationships seen as risky. The pressure gnawed at the fabric of their connection, tightening around Tommy's dreams. What could he offer an established billionaire? Mark wrestled with the dilemma. Was it irresponsible to sponsor Tommy's science fair project? Would he be seen as abandoning corporate traditions? The boy's unwavering spirit contrasted sharply with his glittering office where ambition threatened to suffocate the hope they were building. As days drifted toward the science fair, their collaboration glistened like a distant star, shining yet elusive. Fear sank deep. Tommy's anxieties consumed him. Was he enough? Would he fail? The phone calls became lifelines, each filled with laughter and encouragement, but the stakes loomed. Just moments before the judging would begin, Mark received the chilling message from a fellow executive: backtrack before it's too late. The choice lay heavy. Could they truly confront corporate greed that threatened to eclipse everything they defueled into existence? An impending storm brewed on the horizon, crackling with tension. As they approached the threshold of unveiling their project, a single question echoed through their souls: could they prevail against expectations that sought to drown them in despair? No path seemed certain. The clock ticked, and the moment of truth loomed. Would it bring them together or tear them apart forever? Tommy stood backstage, his heart pounding like a drum. The cacophony of the bustling science fair filled the air, a chaotic blend of encouragement and anxiety. He had spent nights dreaming of this moment. Yet, as he adjusted his oversized glasses, the sheer weight of expectations threatened to overwhelm his resolve. It felt as though the anticipation itself had taken a physical form, wrapping around him like a constricting serpent. "Just breathe," he muttered under his breath, futilely attempting to coax calmness into his racing mind. The reality of the situation loomed before him, pulsating with light and energy, but filled with shadows of self-doubt. How could he hold the attention of judges when his classmates had been mocking his ideas for years? Did he truly belong here among the snickers and whispers? As the announcements of the projects commenced, Tommy replayed every word Mark had shared over their months of conversation, words brimming with passion and belief, words that had become his anchor. Your ideas matter, Tommy. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Each time he recited that truth, it felt less like a mantra and more like a challenge. Just as his project was called, a chill swept down his spine. The stage lights dimmed, and the spotlight fell upon him, shadowing his small frame in a brilliant glow. He stepped forward, laptop clutched tight against his chest. The projector hummed to life, illuminating the screen behind him with the intricate diagrams he had painstakingly created. Concepts of spacetime, black holes, and wormholes materialized. For a brief moment, he was a conduit from the mundane to the extraordinary, but the moment was fleeting. A snicker echoed from the audience, punctuating his anxiety. The malice from his classmates clawed at his confidence, and he faltered, fumbling for his words. The faces of the judges blurred, replaced by the sneering expressions of the very students who had belittled him. Why are you even here? A voice taunted in his mind. Then, as if summoned by his inner turmoil, his phone buzzed in his pocket, a single text lighting up the screen. You've got this, buddy. Remember why you started. It was from Mark. The pulse of determination surged within Tommy. Without thinking, he silenced the noise and launched into his presentation with renewed fervor, his voice rising with clarity. He wove a narrative, explaining how understanding time could unlock hidden realms of existence. As he spoke, he began to see the audience not as adversaries but as potential allies. The board members' expressions shifted from skepticism to curiosity, and for the first time that day, Tommy felt a flicker of empowerment. With every concept he conveyed, the shadows of doubt began to dissolve in the light of his passion, but just when the energy reached its peak, the venue shook with a sudden announcement. Mark's company was facing a major crisis, a submerged scandal that could shatter his career overnight. The dissonance struck Tommy like a cold wave. He realized the price of their alliance, the potential rift threatening to separate them. The judges listened, captivated but unaware of the reality lurking just outside those walls, an impending fallout that could dismantle everything Tommy dared to build, not just for himself but for his mentor as well. Would the lessons learned in courage and enthusiasm be enough to combat the reality of corporate chaos, risking everything they had built together? The moment of truth was not just a project unveiling but a storm front gathering strength. As the judges began to deliberate, Tommy caught a glimpse of his reflection in the screen. For the first time, he recognized a glimmer of something familiar: strength, resilience, ambition, a realization that transcended his struggles. Could he face the realities of an uncertain outcome, or would he allow the world to define him once again? As the decision loomed near, Tommy couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. He didn't yet know how, but in the depths of his resolve, he prepared himself for whatever lay ahead. And just as the tension reached a breaking point, the announcement of the winners echoed throughout the hall. His heart raced. The stakes had never been higher. Would this moment be the springboard to triumph or the threshold to despair? The air was thick with anticipation as the announcer's voice cut through the stillness. And the award for Best Project goes to Tommy Decker. The name rang out like a bell, reverberating in Tommy's ears. He felt the world around him shrink, the sounds dulled, and the light from the spotlight blurred by a sheen of disbelief. Had they really called his name? He stared, numb, at the judges, their faces etched with a mixture of surprise and admiration. Tommy's legs felt like lead as he forced himself to step forward. Each movement was a slow ascent towards a precipice he had never imagined reaching. The applause was thunderous, his classmates' jeers fading into the background, replaced by the weight of their stunned silence. A small part of him feared this was all a dream, only to dissolve when he awoke. But no, the warmth of the award cradled in his palm was undeniable. Clutching the trophy, he glanced sideways and met Mark's proud smile, a source of strength and reassurance. Yet, just as easily as triumph could kindle hope, the news of the scandal flickered in the back of his mind, casting shadows over his victory. The moment should have belonged entirely to him, yet he couldn't fully bask in it. Thoughts of Mark's turmoil wove through his mind, adding complexity to his celebration. As Tommy took a moment to gather himself, he realized he stood at a crossroads. Hadn't he just proven to himself he could defy the expectations that once defined him? Winning wasn't merely about the trophy, it was about finding his voice, about embracing the fears that had once shackled him. Yet, here was this new, looming challenge, helping Mark navigate the broken pieces of his company's reputation. In the days that followed, Tommy immersed himself in addressing the concerns surrounding Mark's scandal. The early euphoria of his victory slipped into a reality of vulnerability, revealing a need for growth that was intensely personal. He began crafting plans to support Mark, gathering data on public perceptions, and analyzing media responses. Every time he researched, every conversation he had, he felt a quiet resolve form within him. Yet there remained an unsettling fear of failure, as if addressing such a corporate controversy might unravel his achievements. After all, who was he to take on such a monumental task? This fear reverberated loudly in moments of doubt, making him question his worth. But rather than allowing himself to retreat, he chose action. He decided to reach out to other students, initiating a discussion group where they could develop strategies and solutions. As the group began to coalesce, he was surprised by the willingness of his peers to contribute. They were engaged, energized by the idea of working together towards something transformational. The moments of camaraderie brightened his perspective. Controversy was not just the end, rather, it was a gateway to evolution. It was then that Tommy discovered a talent he had never acknowledged: a natural capacity to lead. He began facilitating discussions and fostering collaboration, slowly gaining confidence as he navigated the complexities of group dynamics. He was no longer just the boy on a stage with a trophy, he was becoming an architect of change, confronting real-world issues alongside those who had once mocked him. But with each step forward, he wondered what would happen if they failed. In the dead of night, when the world fell silent, doubts crept back in. He wrestled with the implications of their collective response and the possible repercussions it could have, not just on Mark but on his own freshly won reputation. Each evening spent preparing and strategizing became not just a method of crisis aversion, but a process of personal revelation. Perhaps embracing the unknown could unravel a pattern of growth no degree or competition ever could. As he delved deeper into this journey, Tommy realized that true achievement was more than accolades. It was the courage to stand, to face adversity, and to collaborate amid chaos. With that conviction crystallizing in his mind, a notification from his phone rang through the silence, the screen illuminating with an urgent message from Mark. "We need to talk. It's about the scandal and our future." Tommy's heart raced, knowing this could set the course for everything they had worked towards. What would Mark say that could alter everything again? What new challenges lay in wait just on the other side of that conversation? Tommy stood frozen as the message from Mark pulsated on his screen, each vibration echoing the weight of what lay ahead. He hesitated for just a moment, wrestling with the implications of their impending conversation. The softness of his bedroom felt like a fragile bubble, and he knew he would soon burst into the chaotic world of uncertainty. He quickly texted back, "When and where?" There was no time for hesitation. Uncertainty had become a companion on this journey toward growth, and avoidance now felt like a luxury he could no longer afford. The meeting was set for later that evening at a quiet cafe they used to frequent. As Tommy prepared, he inhaled sharply, needing a moment to center himself before stepping back into a role that demanded not just his intellect but his emotional resilience. While once he had viewed crisis management through the lens of what others saw or expected, he now saw it illuminated by a different light. This was part of the forge that refined him, an opportunity to find even more clarity within himself. As he approached the cafe, the sun sank below the horizon, casting long shadows. Inside, the familiar scent of espresso mingled with the low din of chatter. Mark was already seated at a corner table, his posture tense. The sight of his friend brought a swell of urgency, they were in this battle together. Yet, doubt washed over Tommy as he sat down. Was he capable of being the support Mark so desperately needed? "Thanks for coming," Mark said, his voice cracked with the weight of his burdens. Tommy nodded, swallowing hard as he noted the deep lines etched around Mark's eyes, evidence of sleepless nights and overwhelming pressure. We need a plan, Mark continued, diving straight into the core of the matter. This isn't just going to blow over. We've damaged the credibility of the company. Official statements haven't helped. I need your expertise to regain the trust of our clients and the public. Tommy felt the gravity of his friend's words like a tightening vice around his chest. His mind raced. How could he possibly guide Mark through the mire of corporate scandal? Yet, as he listened to Mark unpack the intricacies of the situation, a flicker of clarity began to illuminate the dark corners of his uncertainty. He had been doing the research, gathering insights, and now it was time to leverage that groundwork. I think we should focus on transparency, Tommy said, surprised by the assurance in his own voice. Sharing our side of the story with our clients might be a way to show we're facing this head-on. Mark's gaze sharpened, absorbing the suggestion. And what about our team? They need to feel secure before we present anything to the public. You have to know that their loyalty is crucial right now. Let us gather our resources, hear from the team, and incorporate their ideas, Tommy replied, emboldened by the responsibility thrust upon him. We can't operate in a vacuum, and we need them to feel valued as we move forward. As they outlined objectives and formed strategies, Tommy felt himself stepping further into the role of a leader. He began to articulate goals, rationalizing the decisions as he parried Mark's doubts with confidence. What began as a fear of inadequacy transformed into a shared energy fueling them both. They were now not just partners in crisis but allies navigating a pathway of growth. With every plan they crafted, Tommy uncovered more about himself. It was a revelation that he was not only capable of guiding others but thriving within that capacity. Yet as darker thoughts flickered at the edges of his elation, nagging doubts surfaced. What if they couldn't turn the tide? What if Mark lost everything? Just as they settled on their first steps forward, Mark leaned in, eyes darting as if weighing his next words carefully. There's something else we need to discuss, something that may change everything. The urgency in his tone sent a chill down Tommy's spine. What new revelation was spiraling towards them, threatening to upend everything they had just begun to build? As curiosity mingled with anxiety, Tommy braced himself, knowing that whatever lay ahead could either shatter his newfound confidence or embolden it even further. Tommy's heart raced as he anticipated Mark's next words. The cafe suddenly felt smaller, the sounds around them fading as if the universe had narrowed down to this pivotal moment. We need to bring in a PR firm, Mark finally said, as if exhaling a gigaton of pressure. But they're going to question our integrity. We'll have to be transparent about our financial struggles, and I don't know if I can handle that. The admission rattled Tommy. The thought of revealing their vulnerabilities was both a professional necessity and an emotional minefield. Mark, he said cautiously, it doesn't have to be a betrayal. If we're honest about where we stand, we might regain their trust. We can show the human side of this crisis. Mark's gaze fell, lost in thought, but Tommy knew the clock was ticking. Every moment spent in indecision could deepen the scars already inflicted on their organization. We have to do it together, Tommy pressed, leaning forward. We've spent too long hiding in the shadows. This could be our chance to come out stronger. Tommy felt the old nerves creeping back, doubt, uncertainty, but there was something different this time. He was stepping into his own power. Mark looked up, wrestling with his fears, but a glimmer of hope sparked in his eyes. You might be right. If we present a united front, we can reshape the narrative. Let us do it. With a plan taking form, Tommy's mind shifted from self-doubt to strategy. They buckled down, drafting messages and rehearsing approaches as the cafe filled with evening patrons. The more they worked, the more Tommy recognized a certain rhythm of intent in his decisions. Each word they penned felt clearer, each plan stronger. He was not just patching holes, he was fortifying the entire foundation. By the time they exited the cafe, an unexpected confidence washed over him. They were facing a daunting storm, but for every step he took, he felt his resolve crystallizing. He had a vision, he wanted to lead with authenticity. It wasn't merely about recovery, it was about earning respect. Yet, as they walked toward their cars, a nagging thought clawed at the edge of Tommy's brilliant resolve. What if the PR team found out something about the scandal that they hadn't anticipated? What if Mark's hidden complexities, perhaps even his past decisions, surfaced to derail their momentum? Just before they parted, Mark turned, his expression revealing a turmoil Tommy hadn't seen before. "Tommy," he said quietly, "there's something I haven't told you about my past." There it was, the weight of impending revelations. A single sentence that could either fortify their collaboration or threaten everything they had built. Tommy's breath hitched, caught between eagerness to understand and dread over the unknown. What secrets lay buried beneath Mark's stoic exterior? With a mix of anticipation and trepidation, Tommy stood ready to confront the next layer of their growing partnership, a layer that could either consolidate their leadership or fracture their very foundation. Would this upcoming truth reveal an ally hidden in the shadows or unleash an unforeseen fracture between them? The silence between them stretched, heavy with unspoken words and hidden truths. Tommy took a deep breath, feeling the tumult in both his mind and Mark's steady gaze. "What is it?" he asked, urgency spilling out in his tone. The night air held a stillness that contrasted sharply with the storm raging inside him. Mark hesitated, clearly wrestling with the decision to divulge whatever weighed on him. Tommy could almost see the gears turning, the tension coiling tighter with each passing second. "It was a long time ago," Mark finally began, his voice a low rumble. "Before the company. Before everything went right and wrong." He shifted his weight, and Tommy noticed a crack in his confidence. Mark was human after all, vulnerable in a way Tommy hadn't fully acknowledged until now. Tommy's instincts cried out for clarity. "It's okay, Mark. Whatever it is, just tell me." He tried to convey sincerity, wishing to anchor Mark in this critical moment. "I made choices that I thought were right," Mark continued, a subtle tremor in his voice, "but that eroded my integrity. When I started this company, I did it to escape a past that I thought didn't define me. Yet here we are, on the brink of collapse, and I'm terrified that my mistakes will come back to haunt me." Tommy's heart raced. Pieces of Mark's guarded persona fell away, revealing a man grappling with his past. This moment of vulnerability was transforming an invitation to deepen their trust. "You're not alone," Tommy reassured him. "We'll handle this together. But we need to be open. If we're going to be transparent with the PR team and the public, we have to be transparent with each other." Mark nodded slowly, and the deep lines of worry in his face began to soften. "I appreciate that, Tommy. But what if they're more interested in my past than in our present? What if they twist it against us?" This was a pivotal moment for both of them. Tommy felt a surge of empathy but also of practicality. Facing the truth is our only path forward. We can shape the narrative, but we have to own our stories first. If we control the narrative, we make ourselves heard, and by doing so, we make sure our history doesn't dictate our future. As he spoke, Tommy's mind began to race anew with strategies. He felt alive in his conviction, the gears of leadership spinning with promising potential. It was no longer just about managing a crisis, it was about how they could project strength through their vulnerabilities, making them more relatable to their audience. Earning their trust would involve risk, but Tommy was ready to challenge the conventional comfort zone he had lived in. In that moment, he wondered if the hidden depths of Mark's mistakes could be reframed into a powerful professional narrative. Would it resonate with their audience? Could it cultivate understanding and inspire a fresh beginning? Or would it reveal fissures that they barely begun to understand? "Let us be proactive," Mark finally replied. A newfound determination flickered in his eyes as he stood straighter, matching Tommy's energy. "We can prepare our statements, focus on accountability, and then later, if necessary, I can reveal more about my past directly to the public to show them how far I've come." Tommy nodded, invigorated. "Exactly. A fresh chapter to our story. One we write ourselves." As they reached their respective cars, an electrifying tension surged through Tommy. They had a plan, but it was only the beginning. Everything hinged on Mark's willingness to confront his past and their ability to execute their strategy flawlessly. But in the midst of that shared excitement, uncertainty loomed like a shadow. Could he fully embrace this new role as a leader? Had facing their past been truly beneficial, or was it a Pandora's box waiting to unleash chaos? The night deepened, and with it came the weight of impending choices. Tommy glanced at Mark, whose resolute expression propelled him to consider one last question. Are you ready for this? The challenge of their forthcoming revelations loomed large. What would they discover about each other and themselves once they pulled the veil back? The answer felt tantalizingly close, yet dangerously uncertain. Tommy awoke to the hum of his phone vibrating against the nightstand. It was still dark outside, the faintest hint of dawn creeping through his curtains. As he rubbed his eyes and reached for the device, the weight of the previous night settled heavily in his chest. They had made a choice to confront the demons lurking in Mark's past, yet uncertainty still gnawed at him. The message was from Mark, urging him to come to the office earlier than planned. A knot twisted in Tommy's stomach, an intuitive warning mingling with curiosity. What new developments awaited them? Did Mark uncover something further to share? He quickly dressed, putting on his best game face in the mirror, though he felt anything but ready. As he drove, the city streets still languid with early morning silence, he contemplated their conversation. The urgency to shrink the distance between their pasts and the present pressed upon him. Tommy was not one for introspection, usually preferring the swift action of problem-solving over dwelling on emotional complexities. Still, the looming task begged him to reflect on who he was becoming in this leadership role. Arriving at the office, Tommy was met with a storm of hushed whispers and concerned glances from employees. His chest tightened as he stepped inside. Their anxiety mirrored his own, a palpable tension thrummed throughout the air. Mark was already in his office, looking more fraught than usual but resolute. Tommy, we need to act fast, Mark said, urgency lighting his eyes. I've spoken to the PR team, and we have to prepare for a press statement today. There's a rumor about my past that someone is threatening to leak. It could be catastrophic if we're not proactive. Tommy felt the ground shift beneath him, the combination of fear and determination igniting a spark. What do we know? What are they saying? He pressed, realizing this was the moment they had feared, the very crisis they had planned to avoid. Details are vague, but someone dug deep enough to find a few unflattering articles from years ago, Mark replied, pace quickening as he spoke. It paints me in a light that I cannot allow to define our company. Then let us control the story, Tommy said, his mind tangling with strategies. The work ahead demanded transparency, but also a deft touch to spin the narrative by highlighting Mark's transformation. Unpacking this past might not reveal chaos, it could showcase resilience. They spent the next hours constructing a statement that focused on accountability. As they drafted, Tommy caught glimpses of Mark's vulnerability. His hands trembled slightly as he typed, a familiar tension shadowing his features. Until now, Mark had been the archetype of competence and success, but this created a fissure that humanized him in an unexpected way. Tommy silently questioned if he was ready for this vulnerability to be shared with the public. The refined narrative was both powerful and personal, a story of redemption that acknowledged fallibility while emphasizing growth. Yet, as they finalized the document, doubt flickered in the back of Tommy's mind. Would it genuinely resonate with the company's audience, or would it plunge them deeper into scrutiny? Tommy, are you still with me? Mark asked, breaking his reverie. Yeah, just thinking, he admitted, grappling with the fragile nature of their decision. Are we truly ready for what this could unleash? Mark's gaze held steady. We have to be. We're not just changing how others perceive us, we're redefining who we are, and that includes me. As they prepared to step into the press room, Tommy could feel the pulse of impending confrontation pounding in his veins. This would not just be about Mark's past, it would be a defining moment for them both, reflecting their values and commitment to authenticity. Taking a deep breath, they steadied themselves for the onslaught of questions. The weight of transparency felt agonizing yet liberating, revealing a strength they hadn't realized resided within them. Tommy considered the floor ahead, the impending confrontation drawing ever closer. Had they forged a path toward redemption, or unwittingly invited chaos into their carefully constructed lives? This moment would resonate far beyond what he could anticipate. And in that charged silence, he whispered to himself, "Are we truly ready for this?" The reality of their choice loomed larger than life, gripping his heart with a mix of dread and resolve. Would their story, drenched in authenticity, shape the future or fracture it beyond repair? The press room was dimly lit, a stark contrast to the bright fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Tommy stood beside Mark, their breaths intertwining in a nervous rhythm. The weight of expectation grounded him, yet he knew this was their moment, the opportunity to shift the narrative. As the door swung open, reporters flooded in, their cameras capturing the essence of what felt like a confrontation with destiny. Mark positioned himself at the podium, clearing his throat, eyes flitting over the gathered faces. Tommy could see the sweat pooling at his temples, the tight-lipped smile that masked the tension raging beneath the surface. He felt a surge of empathy for Mark. The vulnerability was palpable, yet this had to be done. "Thank you for coming on short notice," Mark began, his voice steady despite the quiver in his hands. "I want to address a troubling rumor about my past that has surfaced recently." Each word sliced through the silence, carrying the weight of their joint decision. Tommy watched, captivated by how Mark fought to maintain composure while heartbreak loomed behind his assertive fade. As questions erupted from various corners of the room, Tommy's heart raced. Why now? What about the implications for the company? The barrage was relentless. Though he felt the pull to retreat into his calculated realm of strategizing solutions, Tommy realized he had to anchor himself in the moment. This wasn't just about Mark, it was about redefining their paths together. "Mark," a reporter shouted, relentless. "How can you assure your stakeholders that this won't damage the brand's reputation?" The question hung in the air, a chilling reminder of their fragile position. Tommy leaned closer, whispering, "Keep your focus on the message. You've learned from your past, just emphasize that." Mark glanced over at Tommy, surprised by the transparency and support, a flicker of gratitude passing between them. "I acknowledge my past mistakes. They are part of who I am, but they do not define me," he stated, his voice gaining strength with each syllable. "I have worked hard to transform myself and the company into a beacon for positive change." Tommy felt something shift within him, a tumultuous cocktail of fear, admiration, and hope ignited his determination. If Mark could bear his soul under the bright glare of scrutiny, then he could find the courage to do so as well. The fear of judgment began to dissolve, replaced by a clarity that had momentarily evaded him. As momentum built around the conversation, Tommy found himself stepping forward, unplanned but imperative. "This situation highlights the human aspect behind our leadership," he interjected, adrenaline coursing through him. "We believe that everyone has the capacity for transformation. It's how we respond to our failures that shapes our future." The room buzzed with muted reactions, and Tommy took a brief moment to assess the impact of his words. Could he be stepping onto a path of authenticity that he'd long kept at bay? Mark's unwavering gaze suggested that they were both leveling up in the realm of personal and professional development. With renewed energy, Tommy continued, "This isn't just about us. It's about any individual who finds themselves grappling with their past. Our mission is to inspire resilience." A hush fell over the crowd, the message resonating more than he had anticipated. In that fleeting moment, he felt invigorated, like he had uncovered a deeper layer of himself. After the press conference concluded, a flurry of voices erupted, a blend of skepticism and curiosity as reporters clamored for follow-ups. As they left the room, the hum of conflict and clarity swirled around them. Mark turned to him, the weight of uncertainty dissipating slightly. "Tommy, what you said out there, it resonated. You didn't just support me, you took a stand." The recognition was a gift, igniting a sense of purpose within him. Yet, lurking behind it was the unsettling knowledge that their actions awakened hidden battles, challenges they had yet to confront. "Maybe this is just the beginning," Tommy replied, words spilling out in a rush. "But it feels transformative, doesn't it?" Mark nodded, but there was an edge of concern settling in his features. "Tomorrow might bring more than we anticipate. We'll have to navigate the aftermath." The road ahead dipped into uncertain territory, riddled with the potential for both chaos and catharsis. Would the world accept their narrative of redemption? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow against the office windows. Tommy realized just how far they had come and how much further they had to go. In that flickering light, a daunting question surfaced within him: what truths are still hiding in the shadows, waiting to be faced? The air crackled with fresh tension, the imminent complexities of their journey pressing ever closer. The next day dawned heavy with anticipation, the weight of yesterday's revelations still raw on Tommy's psyche. As he made his way into the office, the atmosphere felt charged, a palpable tension lingering in every corner. Each step seemed to echo with both apprehension and newfound resolve. He couldn't shake the feeling that a seismic shift had begun, not only within Mark but also within himself. Taking a deep breath, he settled into his usual routine, but the familiar tasks felt inconsequential. The financial reports, the marketing strategies, they now seemed mere distractions from something far more significant. Instead of filing paperwork, his thoughts drifted to the response that had followed the press conference. The initial shockwaves had begun to ripple through their stakeholders, and Tommy quietly shivered at the thought of the backlash that could soon follow. Suddenly, an unexpected email notification chimed, cutting through his spiraling thoughts. It was from an influential investor. He hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard before opening it. The words inside were sharp and accusatory: doubts about Mark's leadership, concerns over the stability of their investments. Though the disappointment stung, he knew he had to confront it head-on. Tommy's instinct was to draft a measured response, carefully strategizing every point to shield their reputation. Yet, as he began to type, he recalled the previous day's conversation, Mark's courage, and the potential for transformation. Instead of defending defensively, he decided to turn the confrontation into an opportunity for honesty and transparency. He crafted a message rooted in their shared mission, emphasizing their commitment to resilience and growth. He hit send, adrenaline buzzing through him as he anticipated the possible outcomes. As the day unfolded, whispers floated through the office, some congratulatory and others laced with skepticism. Tommy was approached by Elise, the head of marketing. She had been with the company through thick and thin, and her presence brought a hint of comfort. "Tommy, you opened up a new dimension yesterday. But are you prepared for the firestorm that may come?" Her question resonated with a lingering uncertainty. "I guess we have to navigate it together. This is about evolution, right? We can't grow without facing the challenges," Tommy replied, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. Within him, a sense of purpose solidified, a newfound identity that extended beyond mere operational strategies. In the following hours, as meetings progressed and discussions ebbed and flowed, Tommy noticed subtle shifts in his colleagues' attitudes. A palpable camaraderie began to develop, a collective willingness to confront the looming obstacles together rather than shrink beneath them. Later that afternoon, Mark summoned Tommy to his office. As he entered, he saw the signs of his friend's internal turmoil, a hint of fatigue that marked his features, coupled with a burning determination illuminating his gaze. "Tommy, I've been thinking," Mark began cautiously. "What we did yesterday may have shifted the conversation, but I know there are skeptics out there who won't let it go. We need a plan, one that lays our path but also addresses these truths directly." Tommy felt a swell of excitement mingle with fear, as possibilities unfolded before him. Would they be able to orchestrate a comprehensive narrative that didn't merely deflect but embraced the very imperfections that had once threatened them? "Let us schedule a time to meet with our advisory team," he proposed, the words spilling forth with a newfound conviction. Mark's eyes shifted, evaluating the depth of their mission anew. "I need your guidance on this." "You see things clearly, Tommy. It's time we disentangled the truths lurking in the shadows," he replied, igniting a spark in Tommy's heart. But as the discussion deepened, an unsettling realization etched itself across Tommy's mind. The hidden truths ran deeper than public perception, they lay intertwined with the personal struggles he had long ignored. Would he have the courage to confront the complexities of his own narrative? As they wrapped up, Tommy's gaze drifted to the window, where the sun was beginning to set, casting elongated shadows across the room. The weight of their previous day's declaration felt like both a burden and a liberation. Amid the pressing uncertainty, he knew this was merely the start of exposing their truths. But what was he truly ready to face? The fissures in his own self-image began to irk him, whispering their doubts. In that moment, the shadows shifted, and an unspoken question echoed in his mind: how far am I willing to go to confront the discrepancies in my own leadership? The path ahead shimmered with possibilities, and Tommy felt the urgency of the challenge surging closer. Tommy's journey reached a pivotal moment as he stood in front of the large glass windows overlooking the city skyline. He could see the sunset reflecting vibrant hues, a juxtaposition of promise and uncertainty. The weight of past decisions crushed him, yet a sense of resolve washed over him. Over the past weeks, he had faced countless adversities alongside Mark. Their bold transparency garnered unexpected support from stakeholders and the public, yet it simultaneously invited scrutiny. This was not merely a story about Mark's past, it was about Tommy's evolution as well. As he surveyed the city, Tommy's thoughts circled back to the impromptu press conference, how revealing their vulnerabilities had sparked interest and admiration in equal measure. He had proven to himself that confronting challenges head-on was no longer a choice, it had become his creed. He felt a newfound sense of purpose surging within him. Back in the office, Tommy positioned himself firmly within the planning discussions. Recognizing the momentum they created, he initiated strategic meetings dedicated to defining their evolving mission, a vision grounded in integrity, resilience, and collaboration. He pursued clarity in communication, leading his peers through brainstorming sessions that transformed vulnerability into strength. They would not only weather the storm, they would emerge stronger. During a pivotal brainstorming session, he encouraged the team to turn past mistakes into case studies, illustrating how such experiences fostered growth and innovation. Every setback can be a stepping stone if we learn from it, he said, noting how the team began nodding in agreement. A few days later, during a meeting with potential investors, Tommy stood at the forefront, articulating their vision. We believe in creating an environment where accountability fuels growth, he emphasized. The room leaned in, captivated by his passion, a stark contrast to the timid boy he once was. The investors' skeptical expressions softened, and he could see them recalibrating their assumptions. Tommy's confidence skyrocketed as he saw himself stepping into a transformative role he had once shied away from. Within a week's time, they secured renewed commitments and saw their shares stabilize. Even Mark, who once saw Tommy solely as a mentee, began to regard him as a peer, recognizing his capability to lead. You did it, Tommy, Mark said one evening, a genuine warmth radiating from his tone. You're no longer just a kid with dreams, you're a strategist steering this ship. Profound recognition settled within Tommy, bringing a deep sense of pride without tipping into arrogance. He had conquered fear and self-doubt, proving to both himself and Mark that setbacks could indeed catalyze positive change. Beyond professional boundaries, he cultivated personal growth. He was a leader who could inspire others to rise from their struggles. As the months passed, reports of ongoing transformation and recovery circulated in the media, highlighting not just the changes within the company, but how their journey resonated with countless individuals navigating their own tribulations. They had reshaped narratives not only for the public but for themselves, discovering the beauty and authenticity. Reflecting on that journey one quiet evening, as he scrolled through messages from fellow students expressing admiration for his unconventional paths, a wave of gratitude swept through him. They recognized his story not just as success but as a beacon, a narrative of transformation. Encouragement from others solidified his sense of belonging, and each message seemed to echo that he mattered. This was Tommy's moment. He had not just grown, he had flourished. After weeks of navigating complex negotiations, discussions, and presentations, Tommy received one final call from a prestigious academic institution offering him a scholarship to pursue a degree in leadership studies. It was a testament to the growth he had reconciled within himself, a door opening to an expansive future within his grasp. With joy and disbelief intertwined, he accepted, embracing the opportunity to explore his passions further. Tommy's recognition of self-worth, paired with his professional recognition, illustrated a profound transformation. No longer defined by expectation or circumstance, he was grounded and competent, ready to face whatever lay ahead. In that moment, the weight of earlier struggles transformed into a springboard for future aspirations. He took one last glance at the sunset painting the skyline, his heart brimming with determination and purpose. He had achieved what seemed impossible, embracing his story, defining his path, and stepping confidently into a future filled with possibility. Now, as the story reached its conclusion, Tommy understood the journey had never been solely about accolades. It was a revelation of character, the realization that true success comes from within. This is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is how we grow together. You need to subscribe now.